creative control. Like how do you if you're not if you want to control your idea, own it, and for an idea like Borderlands, which is also political, and many of the independent filmmakers likes to deal in these themes. If you like give it off very early, do you let go of that control? Will politically sensitive things be told in the same way as you would tell with the same sensitivity? So I think all of these reasons combined led me to want to crowdfund. No seed funding, wanting to have the creative control, and I think compared to my previous film, for example, Unreserved was done. It was a smaller film, so we just did an ad film. Like this is what a lot of independent filmmakers do. If it's a smaller film, they'll do an advertisement and earn those initial 4 or 5 lakh rupees in 1 or 2 ads and put it in the film. But if the budget is bigger, how many ad films would you do? So I didn't want to lose my energy just preparing to do the film. So that's another reason why I think I decided to crowdfund. That's something that is very, I would say, a first roadblock, a mental roadblock that, oh, I'll have to first accept that I don't have money and then I have to go out and ask for money. I think that is what I think makes a lot of people anxious. And in fact, a lot of people I have talked to after my campaign, they come to me and say, ki, Acha, can we do without a video? Or, can I hire someone to run the campaign? And I think those are the things which initially itself one has to be very clear that, see, it's your idea. And if you do not, you're not ready to put in your face and your soul into it, it will probably not work. And one of the things in which I dealt with this whole anxiety of asking for money, I tried to make it sound like a collective thing where I would use the word contribution and not donation. So in some ways, I'm trying to get people to become part of my film, and if they believe in it, then contribute. And it's not like they are completely donating their money. They're getting to become part of something. I think when we talk about the platforms, there is a platform called Wishberry, on which I crowdfunded. Now, Wishberry, with the choice of platform, I think what is very important is I'm not sure what platforms do normally people in Nepal go.
I don't think there is a existing platform yet. I knew there was one called Munch that was trying to start off, which I think sadly closed a few years ago. Okay. But I do know a few people trying the Google route and trying to fund the funds and stuff, but like it's usually a huge hassle, I guess.
Okay. Because I have also seen that there are Indian projects on Indiegogo. So Indiegogo is the closest I've come to finding an international platform which is suited to filmmakers. In India, we have Wishberry, which is, I think, a version of Indiegogo only. There are only art projects on the platform. Depending on how much money you want to raise, I think you would want a platform where someone has raised that much money, and that too for a film. And you do not want to compete with people who are suffering from diseases. You do not want to compete with people who are suffering from natural disasters. So there are other platforms in India like Keto or Milap. Now, these are platforms where you would find a lot of children who are suffering from diseases. So parents are fundraising for them. I don't want to put my film in such a scenario. With a platform like Indiegogo or Wishberry, in my case, what happens is you are only clubbing with other film projects. So then one is that. Second is there are other films which have raised that much money. So I think that is something which allows you to have a clearer sense of where you are putting your film. And I think like the anxiety part, I think, is mostly about the mindset. I feel once you are ready, you accept that this is something where you will have to put your own personality out. You're pretty much comfortable once you start doing it. But taking that first step is very important. Like a lot of people I've seen, they go into a shell when it comes to crowdfunding. But in my opinion, even if you are an introvert, if you can at least pose for your video and put in that effort to network, which will again come to once we're talking about building the campaign, it will work out. I don't think the anxiety is more about just accepting कि मांगना, like you'll have to ask for money.
Got it. And I guess that's part of it, because when you're putting a film out, you're basically also putting a part of yourself out, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess knowing that it starts from the fundraising process itself is something that everyone needs to come to terms with. So, you were talking about Excel sheets and everything. So, how did you structure your campaign? Can we go into that? Like how I think a lot of us might have a huge problem with. Yeah, I wouldn't say problem, but like a roadblock comes when we want to, sell our project to our video. So how did you approach that? And like basically, how did you structure your campaign?
Right. So there are different parts to the campaign. We can go one by one. I think first major part that comes is definitely the pitch video. And I think what happens in a pitch video is usually, I think the most important person is you, who's running the crowdfunding campaign. You need to be at the center stage of the pitch video. Crowdfunding campaigns do not engage well without pitch videos. And I think the motivation of doing that pitch video should be very clear. What you need to do is you want to give people a sense of the film that you are making. So ideally, I wanted my pitch video to have some scene of my film in some way. So it started with a scene, and then I explain what I'm trying to make, because the scene might not give a full sense. It might only give you a feeling of what I'm creating. But I think what really helps is to make people understand why you want to do this, your motivation.
It seems credibility is a huge factor behind people, choosing to back your film or not. So, would you say it is better if you already your project, shoot a little bit part of it, then actually start going to crowdfunding, or should you start, from the get go? Like, would you say like you need to start the process a little bit early, then go into crowdfunding, or basically wait for crowdfunding until you go into the process?
I would strongly suggest that you at least shoot a scene. If it's a fiction film, at least shoot a scene and something which will make people feel. Because what happens is otherwise you're just talking about an idea. People don't feel that idea. Now that scene does not have to be the whole story, or you do not need to have the whole trailer. So my actual shoot went on for 2 years. And for my pitch video, I just shot for a week. So I just decided that I'll focus on one particular town in Punjab on the India-Pakistan border. I went there, spent a week and shot something, and out of, I think my pitch video was 4.5 minutes, which is long for a pitch video. Ideally, it should be 3 to 3.5 minutes. But I was just pretty taken in by whatever I was doing, carried away. So I would strongly suggest that if you have a documentary, you at least have one moment of your documentary in the pitch video. If you have a fiction, at least have one scene, something which is able to make people feel what you are trying to do, because otherwise what happens is it's just you who's talking, and I don't get a sense, like you noted, credibility, because this is going to go to people who don't know me. Those people I want to be part of the campaign. So if you don't know me, the only thing which is going to make you believe in me is what I'm trying to do.
Got it. And I think because we have seen a lot of international cases where you actually succeed on your crowdfunding campaign, but like your project goes over budget, or like or you overcommit and underdeliver. So like, how did you know that you wanted this amount of funding from the entire process?
Yeah. So actually, it's interesting. It's a very nice question, because for me, I wasn't actually sure of the total budget it will take. So, in fact, the kind of money I needed, I knew I couldn't crowdfund. So one of the very important thing is how much money do you decide to crowdfund? And that is very dependent on, I think, your network also. The reality of crowdfunding campaign is that your network is mostly going to contribute 60 to 70% of the money. Ideally, in a very ideal scenario, your campaign goes viral and a lot of money comes in. but you should not leave it to chance that that is going to happen. You need to activate your networks beforehand. So I'll come to just the idea of building a campaign. But for me, I knew that, okay, the kind of network I have, what I did, and I think I would suggest everyone to do this exercise, create an Excel sheet and put in the names of all the people you know, all the people from your college, from your workplace, from your family, from like all the places you've been. And if someone probably knows you or remembers you, they may not be your best friend or very good friends, put their names on an Excel sheet, and try and just estimate how much money will they probably give you. And I think that can give you an idea of how much can you crowdfund really. For me, I knew that my budgets are beyond 50 lakhs or 60 lakhs from the beginning. So it was more like, okay, we have this network, and our network was good because we come from the Indian Institutes of Technology, which have people who then go on to become bankers and consultants. So we had friends who were earning a lot of money. So we were like, okay, let's fundraise for this much money. One way of doing it is to obviously cost for your actual film. If your film is definitely going to cost you 10 lakhs, and you have this Excel sheet, and one very good exercise is to divide the amount. For example, 25 lakh rupees, I knew I need 500 people to contribute 5,000 rupees. So that's a very simple way of breaking down your campaign and making it easy to comprehend, because otherwise it looks like a lot of money. So can you get 100 people to contribute 10,000 rupees? That would mean 10 lakhs can be raised, right? So those are the tools I used, but it was also very much, I knew I couldn't raise my full amount, so I had to almost guess that I'll be able to push my network this much, and then decide, okay, this is the amount I'm going to crowdfund for.
Great. We slightly touched on this before, but do you think there are enough crowdfunding networks and platforms, and if there are more possibilities for a South Asian crowdfunding network seeing the success of your movie?
I think what I've seen is, for example, as an Indian, I cannot crowdfund on Kickstarter for some reason. Now that is a big impediment. So I do think there's scope for synergies. Like the thing that I'm getting to know from you is Nepal probably doesn't have very dedicated crowdfunding platforms for art projects.
Right.
So how could we make it easier for platforms like Wishberry to expand into Nepal? I think there's a lot of scope. In fact, I do feel that what a platform like Film South Asia also does, I really enjoyed being at that festival, because it allows people from different countries in the subcontinent come together. Like, I wouldn't be able to meet a Pakistani that freely in India. So I really enjoyed doing that in Film South Asia. So these are also platforms where we can start these conversations. So I personally feel it's very important to build that kind of community. So now I think the building the platforms part, it's a very entrepreneurial thing. Like, you need to have tech entrepreneurs.
Right.
Like Wishberry was started by someone who graduated from Delhi University. Now this friend of mine, Anshulika Dubey, she's actually a humanities graduate, but she also had experiences of crowdfunding herself for her own projects, and then she just was so frustrated with that experience then that she decided to build that platform. So you're dependent on all these individuals. So Wishberry is also very young. 10 years ago we did not have Wishberry. So
right.
Everyone was going to Keto. Everyone was going to, we did not have these channels. Only in the last 10 years, I think that came up. So similarly, either it can be a homegrown thing in Nepal, or, if these entrepreneurs see other countries as a potential market, they will expand. So, but artists can't control that actually.
Right.
It's not very much in their control, and we are too busy making our films.
So if there are any entrepreneurial tech related people in the talk right now, that might be a good idea for them, I guess.
Yeah, I think
Yeah. So coming to your experience with crowdfunding, would you opt for crowdfunding for your next movie?
So actually, it's a very dicey thing. Like you said, it's so dependent on delivering also. If I have made a film and if I've underdelivered, then can I go back to the same people and ask for money again?
Right.
So till now, luckily, what has happened is with Borderlands, we've done good. Like the project has received recognition, and I have kept everyone posted. This is one very important thing. Like, you should keep your contributors posted through emails, at least, and and if that happens, great. I might go back to crowdfunding. But in my honest opinion, as an artist, I feel it's something that can give you a kickstart, but it's not a sustainable way of functioning. Ultimately, you have to use the markets. How do you tap into the global film markets is something that I am trying to figure out by going to platforms like this Cannes Film Market or the Hong Kong Asia Film Financing Forum, or there's something called DocEdge which happens in Calcutta, and
Right.
that is a great platform because that is actually a pan-Asian platform where people from all over Asia come. So a crowdfunding campaign can give you a kickstart, but if you are totally dependent on crowdfunding for all your projects, it might become very tiring for your family, for your friends. So I wouldn't suggest that. Yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to because you did have a very successful fundraising crowdfunding campaign, what would you advise others not to do? Like, what were your key mistakes? What are your key takeaways?
Sure. So I'll also touch on few things that they should do because
Sure.
I think there are few things which we've not touched upon. So,
Sure.
for example, how do you activate the network? I think that is very important. You've created that Excel sheet where you put all these names. How do you activate it? And that activation has to happen before you launch. One of the mistakes, we can talk about mistakes, of course. One of the mistakes is people start their campaign. They think that I'll start the campaign, I'll make the video, let me just launch it and then start reaching out to people. And I think that's a big mistake because what happens is for initial few days of your campaign, no one would be putting in money. And it's a very interesting process because if people see that your campaign is doing well, there are actually more chances of them putting in money. So if I visit your campaign page, I see, Shashank has already raised 50% of the money, let me put in more money. That is one case. The other thing is I visit your page and you've only raised 5% in 10 days. Then I'm like, I don't think his campaign is working out. Should I put in money? Is it really worth it? So you need to activate your network. And that is also a phase which can make you very anxious. But how I did it was, I called up my best friends. Now these are friends who I can trust, who I know that who wouldn't judge me. And I told them that, see, Gaurav is one of them. For example, Gaurav, so I obviously catch up, that is important. You don't jump into saying ki paisa, you need money. So you catch up, but then you also tell them ki, see, I am planning this, and I need support. I need all of you to support me. And you get a buy-in, like let them say, you be open to every possibility. They might say, yaar, ki, I am myself not very well placed financially. They might say no. But some of your friends will say, ki, for sure I'll support you. And I think those are very important people who will probably be your first supporters. And what I used to also do was ask them as to how much will they be able to contribute. Why that is important is because I think one thing I learned from seeing very successful campaigns is that most of them, and talking to people, most of them know where their first 25 to 30% of the money is going to come from before they launch the campaign. If you already know where your first 30% of the money is going to come from, that's an ideal scenario to launch. Because the day you launch, you tell these people, ki, I have started the campaign, you keep them posted, and day one you have some money. Now that helps you in two ways. One is when you put out the campaign, every new person who's coming to the campaign page, they'll be like, oh, day one he's raised 10% of the money. Yeah, by week one he's raised 30% of the money. So that's a good kickstart. And second thing is, which is very important, is PR. Like, how do you get newspapers or other digital platforms excited about your campaign? So they also usually want to cover campaigns which they feel will be successful. And that's a very important part of building a campaign, because how do you reach out to people you don't know? And that is mostly going to happen through either newspapers or digital platforms. So that is also part of your research before the campaign. One is building that network, activating that network. Second is, are there people you know in these publications, or can you write an email, find their email IDs? For example, Kathmandu Post. Do you know someone in Kathmandu Post? Can you reach out to a journalist, find their email ID, tell them this is what you're up to and you would love for them to cover it in some way. So we did this for Borderlands actually, and we luckily got one very good publication in India, which is the New Indian Express. So they did a very nice article on us in the first week of the campaign, which then went out to so many people, and then all of them visited the campaign page. And because I had activated my network, I already had 25% money on the campaign page. So people then get excited, okay, this campaign is interesting, it's working well, let's put in more money. So I think not reaching out to your network before the campaign is a mistake that people make.
Right.
Second mistake I think people make is not planning for how will you actually reach out to people. Because, see, in an ideal world, your video is so good, it goes viral, it has 1 million views, everything is great. But that usually does not happen. So you need to plan for the PR, the media coverage. And what really helps sometimes is planning events around the time of your launch. If you've already made films, can you plan some screenings? Because what happens is you are going to use your social media. So your Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all Twitter, all these platforms are very important. You have to post about your campaign on these platforms. So if around the campaign you are also screening your previous films or doing something interesting, it adds to your personality. Like people see you as someone who's actually done work in the past, or see you as someone who's involved. It could even be as basic as volunteering for a festival. You are at least at a film related event. So that is also very important. Your social media needs to basically become very active around that time, because that's how you tell your friends that this is happening. So one is the network, second is the PR, third is social media and communication. So a lot of people just launch their campaign and don't post about it at all. And I think and that totally beats the point of the campaign, because you want more people to know about it. So there is obviously a political party in India called Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP. And what they do very interestingly is that they have an IT cell. Now that IT cell is full of trolls, but what they also do very nicely is that they have strategy. So they have these, I copied that strategy with my team. I wrote these emails to my team, which is about 6 to 7 people, and I would tell them, see, we are launching in 3 days, and this is a post I have created which says to go. So you need to post this at 5 p.m. And I would give them 5 options for what they could write with the post.
Right.
So I would control the communication in a way. And on the day of launch, everyone changed their cover photos to our poster. And what that allows the campaign to have is an identity. Like, your friends would know that this is a fun thing happening. So you need to make people enjoy that whole campaign process also. So
Right.
social media becomes very important. And I think people many times don't use that the power that social media can have, or this perception can have. And I think one last thing I think is email communication. So I think when you're creating those Excel sheets, and I think that one Excel sheet is very important where you have listed down all your contacts, how much money would they probably give you. So you also list down their email IDs, and ideally your first 30% is coming from your closed circles, like your friends and family. But after that, you also reach out to people who are acquaintances, who you just happen to know. So after you raise those 30% of the money, you write emails to these people. And these emails can also be different for people who are close to you, and different for people who you just happen to know remotely. But that those emails are like personal communication, and allow people to understand this is what you're doing. They might not be on your social media, but you have their email IDs. And I think one last component of communication is WhatsApp and personal messaging. So you see a lot of people commit this mistake again of posting about their crowdfunding campaign on groups. No one takes crowdfunding campaign seriously on groups. What happens is, if you personally reach out, if you say, for example, "Hi Shashank, hope you are well. This is something that I've been up to. I would love for you to check it out and contribute if you like it." So something as simple as that, it creates a lot of difference. So I spammed my contact list, like, but in a sense that no one would know that I'm spamming.
So personalized spam.
Yes. So can you like start with a line which is personalized? For example, some of the emails that I wrote to people who I know are very rich, who can contribute a good amount of money, I wouldn't put them on an email list. I would write a personalized email ki, "Hope you remember me from this event.
Right.
Hope you I still remember this collaboration we did." Stuff like that, so that people also are like, this is not a standard spam email that is being sent to me, and that creates a lot of difference. And each of these people, even if they contribute 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, if you're reaching out to 100 people, it amounts to a lot of money. So I think that is again something that people don't do sometimes. They don't write emails. They don't reach out personally. They put it on groups. Groups are something totally to be avoided, I feel. People just stop taking you seriously.
So, like, what are the things that you did that you advise others not to do?
Okay, so I think okay, so I have a very good opinion of my campaign, actually. But I think what I actually didn't do probably is what would that be? I think actually I am getting ideas about what people again do wrong, which I think is sometimes they invest money on creating ads. Like, they'll create a page for the project and they'll put in money to create ads, and I think that's very counterproductive. Because if people see those ads, they'll be like, this person has money to create ads, why is he asking us for money? So depending on organic reach is, I think, very important. I think what I could have done more, I think getting, for example, very credible people to either be a part of your campaign. For example, if I'm making a documentary, so there are people like Anand Patwardhan, stellar documentary filmmakers in India, who, if I reach out to them and tell them this is what I'm doing, can you say 10 seconds or 20 seconds of something in my video? Or can you share my campaign on your page if you are, say, a mini celebrity or a credible person? So I think I didn't do that a lot, but I could have utilized that. And even I think inside a community, like if, for example, you know someone who's famous in Nepal. For example, if you were doing a film about human trafficking, I would say that Mighty Nepal could be a great partner in that endeavor. because they are credible, and if they are also helping you publicize your campaign, it will really add value to your campaign.
Great. So like,
Yeah.
if we go over the top again, like the key takeaways have to be, you have to plan in advance, definitely, and like a lot of it is dependent on how credible you look and how personalized you can make the campaign, and at the very end, like you need to be very concentrated on what you want to achieve, I would say.
Yeah.
Great. So I guess that is all the time we have for our chit chat. We are still going to open the floor for more questions. And reminding others of the format, just type in your name, and then we'll unmute you, or you can just unmute yourself and after we announce your name, and then you can ask your questions. So to close off our conversation, congratulations again on a very successful campaign.
Thank you.
We hope we will be able to see your documentary really soon, and best of luck for your future endeavors. So we open the floor for comments.
So while the comments come in, or if they don't, I also want to tell that I think one of the things that I wanted everyone to know is that sometimes you feel it is going to be very easy, and I just feel it's nice to just accept that it is not going to be easy, and you are probably going to cry at some point. I cried at some point during my campaign, and it's completely all right. But if you are at it, you will get there. There is obviously, if you're doing something, it is a brave thing to do this crowdfunding, go out and ask for money. So acknowledge that you're doing something brave, and whenever you're doing something brave, sometimes it gets to you. So accept it, feel it, let it pass through you, and it will happen. That is something I think everyone should know.
Great. Ayush has some questions, so Ayush, you can go on.
Sure.
Okay, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, Ayush, very clearly.
Hi, Samarth, thank you for coming on. I just wanted to ask you a question about when you are approaching to crowdfund a film, does it matter like what kind of a content your film has when you're trying to crowdfund it? Particularly, does it have to be more like socially inclined kind of content to get money, to get people excited and sort of contribute? Or do you think it could be like, psychological or sort of internal narratives and stuff like that can also get money? What has your experience been in that?
Sure. So I have seen both kinds of campaigns, and I think having a social issue obviously makes your life very easy, because people just understand, okay, this is a film about trafficking, this is a film about border areas, this is a film about poverty. But even doing a film which is not out and out about a social issue is completely fine for a crowdfunding campaign. I think what is most important is in your pitch video and in your write-up, you tell why do you think this is important, or why do you think this is important to you as an artist, and probably what does it mean to, for example, I would keep on saying what does it mean to the Indian documentary movement. So because Indian documentary movement is very nascent. So you could very similarly talk about, if you are able to make this film, it will probably mean something to the Nepal independent movement in cinema or documentary. As an artist, how does it mean anything to you? For example, your reason for making it could be very personal. So don't shy away from bringing up that personal angle for example, that psychological conflict could be your conflict when you were a kid or when you were in a relationship, and that is something, like your film could very well be about love, but if you're saying something important about relationships, I think more and more people would want to know. You could always frame it like love is such a fundamental emotion that all of us suffer through these conflicts. Now, it's not a social issue, but can you tap into those emotions that will connect with everyone? So that's what I'm talking about. Like, love is an emotion. Being a kid and dealing with a conflict is another something which everyone's grown through those conflicts. So can you put it in a language which people can connect to? I think that is enough. That is what I feel. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Next we have Smriti.
Hi, Samarth. Thank you
Hi,
for doing.
Smriti.
So once again, congratulations. Actually, since this film has gone into Cannes, and I think I wanted to know whether a crowdfunded film is viewed differently in such markets, or do they see it as more credible or less credible, or do they have a different view of what the film is going to be like? Is it hard to get any more investors once they know it's crowdfunded, or is it easier? So if you
Sure.
can touch upon that a bit.
Sure. I think it adds a lot of credibility. Like, it's not something that I put out very blatantly out there, because all of these platforms have very strict word limits. So, but whenever I get the chance, like there have been pitching forums where I have specified that 550 people have already supported this project, they believe in it. So, how it helps is that it lends credibility that there's a ready audience. There are people who are ready to watch this film, back this film, they want it to happen. I don't think in any way it would ever hurt a film for it to be crowdfunded. It's only going to add value. And the fact that we already have backers and supporters, so it adds a lot of goodwill. And when you see all those names in the credit list, you're like, oh, a lot of people are involved in creating this film. So it's a great feeling, I think, that way.
Yeah, so it becomes kind of like a community. I mean, a community-led film, or it's more empowering to the community in that sense. Is that what they
Surely. Like in fact, one of the markets that we went to, we had mentioned that we crowdfunded for this film, and they themselves brought it up because they were so taken in by the fact that so many people contributed. They themselves brought it up during a Q&A. I didn't even have to put it out. So definitely, I think the whole film becomes it becomes a very empowered endeavor in that sense that you have this whole community behind the project.
All right, thank you.
No worries, Smriti, and thank you for coordinating. Smriti is the person who has coordinated with me throughout. Thank you for asking me to do this.
Thank you.
I did have a quick question while we were talking about it. Actually, Binit came up with it. Let's ask his question first, then I can come back to mine. So, Binit, the floor is yours.
Hey, Samarth.
Hey, Vineet, I think you've talked before. We've talked
we did.
during the film. Yes, great.
Yeah. We were actually planning on coming to Kathmandu.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice to hear from you.
Lovely talking to you. Yeah.
So my question is, basically, what would you say is the best timeline to plan for during these kind of fundings? Because some videos can have very sensitive timelines, right? So it has to be urgent, or it should be done within a certain timeline. So what would you say would be a realistic timeline to actually aim for during these kind of crowdfundings? Because some projects can be pretty time sensitive. So
Yeah.
what kind of mindset should we take while actually crowdfunding any project?
Sure. And a very, very important question. Actually, I missed out on touching upon this. I actually took 2 months just preparing for the campaign, and the whole campaign lasted 1.5 months. So actually, preparation is very important because your campaign should come across as a polished campaign. Now, with very time-sensitive projects, sometimes you just don't have that time. So it's something that you have to weigh. Is crowdfunding the best way of going about doing this project, or should you reach out to philanthropists or people who are into art and culture, who put in money very directly as contributions and donations into such endeavors? Because I personally feel that if you have to run a good crowdfunding campaign, you need at least a month to prepare. Not only your pitch video, but activating your network, creating those social media posts, planning some events around the launch. I think those are all very important aspects. Especially if you miss out on creating a great pitch video, which will always depend. You will create a first draft. Ideally, you should send it out for feedback to a few of your good friends. If they have suggestions, you either reshoot or re-edit. So obviously, I think that all of that needs time. So I would ideally suggest keep at least a month before the campaign, and then how long soever you want the campaign to be. There have been campaigns where people raised funds in a week, But there are campaigns where people are not able to raise funds also. So it's ideal to keep 1.5 to 2 months, depending on, for example, if you're raising, it also depends on your network actually. Like some people would find it hard raising 5 lakhs, and that's a fact. Some people would find it okay to raise 25 lakhs also, because that's the kind of people they are surrounded with. So one has to be very realistic and then allow enough time. So I would say 2 to 3 months is ideal for any amount, for an amount ranging from 5 lakhs to 20 lakhs. 2 to 3 months is something you should definitely account for. For very timely projects, I honestly, if for example you have to get that film out within a month, I don't think you would have enough time to do a crowdfunding campaign for it. You will have to figure out more innovative ways to find that money.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. We are still taking questions. If you want, Sneha, Prajita. So Sneha, you can go ahead. Prajita, you can go next.
So yeah, hi Samarth. Thanks for doing
Hi,
this.
Prajita. Yeah.
I just wanted to add to what you just said. You said that it's always good to do events around the campaign. So apart from screening, what kind of events could you like suggest, that something that you have done or you have seen?
Yes. So, for example, simple workshops, for example. Like if you're already a practicing filmmaker, if you've done even a short film, you could always. So this is something I would do. I would reach out to these journalism colleges or film colleges. I would write emails that, see, I am a filmmaker, I have done this. I would like to come and interact with the students for half an hour, for 45 minutes. So, and sometimes I would say I would love to screen a film and then interact, depending on how much time those colleges would give me. And many times what you would see is they are very receptive. Even if you're a young filmmaker, they would allow you to come and address their students. Can you do it in a school? Can you go back to your own school and do it with, say, students who are just volunteering to attend this session? And what that does is, you can always, when you go to these events, and I always say this is more for social media actually, not for the people who are sitting there. So you do the event, but you also click photos and post them on social media, so that everyone knows that, okay, Sneha is this awesome person, or Prajita is this awesome person who's doing this, not only this campaign, but they also spend time passing on their knowledge to other people. I did workshops, I did screenings, what else did I do? I did become more active on social media. I think they're small things basically. It's basically like creating a mindset where you start talking to a broader community. Right?
Great. So we have Prajita next. Prajita, you can ask a question.
Okay. Hello everyone.
Hi, Prajita.
I'd like to ask if people were discouraging at first. Like, let's suppose for a feature film, Unreserved, what would you do with? Suppose you have a budget of amount of 10 lakhs, so people would ask like, what would you do with this much of money? It's just like these movies cannot take this much of money. So were people discouraging in that sense?
So you'll always have people who will probably either have doubts or not even support the idea of crowdfunding, and they will say no. Like, I had a friend who said that he doesn't believe in crowdfunding. So he was very frank with me that he wouldn't put in money. And there were people in my community who had previously contributed to some crowdfunding campaigns where people who ran the campaigns didn't make the film at the end, or didn't do the thing that they had promised. So you will always have such people, and you can't do much about it, because it's not easy to change someone's mindset in one conversation, and you also don't want to come across as defensive. So I think it's important to just very respectfully accept their opinion and move on, and not be affected by it. Like, in fact, one of my batchmates from my last college really judged me for crowdfunding. He almost equated crowdfunding with begging. And that was a very extreme example, which can be very discouraging for someone who's starting out doing this. But when I know that I am creating something of value, and it means something to me, and in the final form, it can mean something to the world or the film community, I should have that faith and believe that yes, this is important. Let me park this person's thoughts somewhere. So there are always going to be people who are going to question you, discourage you, but your motivations, I think, should come from your own sense of doing that project. When they ask you what are you going to do with this money, obviously have a clear idea. Like I knew that, okay, this much money is going into production, this much money is going into editing. So all those things I had charted out. In fact, in my pitch video, I had a pie chart which distributed those 25 lakh rupees into different like pre-production and research, production, post-production. So it's always nice to have at least a ballpark figure. Ki, acha, out of these 10 lakhs, 1 lakh is going to go into research, recce, research visits. 3 lakhs you're going to spend in hiring camera, paying my cinematographer, because people are going to get salaries out of it. You can't just ask people to volunteer, right? You are asking for money to get a great cinematographer, do this film because you want the film to come out well. You are going to pay the editor. You are going to actually shoot and hire equipment. You want sound equipment, camera equipment. You want a good color artist to work on it, sound artist to work on it. So, and you also want to apply to festivals. So it's always nice to have at least these things on your fingertips, that where are these 10 lakhs going to go? They're going to go in post-production, they're going to go in production, research visits, actual shoot, hiring equipment. So I think that is pretty defendable.
Great. So we're at the end of our talk. It's 4:27, nearly 4:30, so we're going to bring it into a close. And thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, Samarth. And I just opened up the Wishberry page for your crowdfunding campaign, and I wanted to basically congratulate you on the really interesting reward names you kept for. So if you look at it right now, there is Mishti Doi and Jalebi and Sima Mukli. So I guess those delicious words also contributed a lot to people like
So in fact, all the rewards are a sweet dish from one country in the subcontinent.
Awesome.
So something from Myanmar, something from China, something obviously Nepal and India share the things. So we don't, like jalebi is probably had there also, here also. Similarly in Pakistan also. But there's Vatalappam from Sri Lanka. Right. So I think it's very nice when you add these smaller touches, because it just allows people to feel, oh, there's something thoughtful there and personalized. And if you treat your crowdfunding campaign like your baby, because the film is going to be your baby for sure, it really helps, I think. So,
great.
Thank you.
So we would like to bring this talk to a close. Thank you so much for sharing the insights and just answering all of our questions too. And we hope this movie and the very next one does extremely well. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you for asking me to come here. I really had a good time. Thank you for the thoughtful questions, and I can't wait to bring the film to your festival, to Nepal, and have because there is a Nepali story. I've shot extensively there also, so I'm very excited to bring the film there.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Smriti. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.